we just, in the last weeks we watched a bunch of episodes.
We are following Quantum Leap as it's airing.
Yeah, and basically that's what we're doing right today, because we have like a review of the last few episodes, and we're gonna just whisk off, watch episode, and whisk back in. And then we can do the last one.
Then that's the mid-season. No, I don't know if it's a cliffhanger yet, because we haven't seen it yet. But I'm assuming it's going to be a mid-season cliffhanger. We did a video on number 1, episode 1 and 2. Go see that if you like. I forgot to say something. I have notes.
And on this channel we promise that it is our opinion and we're sticking to it, but we never said it was our complete opinion, or that we may not have other facts and amend our opinion, whatever.
We don't have all the information yet,
so
and therefore
addendum number 1.
Yes, fun fact note, trivia of episode 2, which is the one where he's an astronaut. The episode's called Atlantis. It's set in 1998. I have my notes. I love notes. Anyway, so the astronaut that he's there to save is actually there to save all the astronauts, but the woman that he's there to save, her name is Samantha Stratton. And I knew this when I was watching it. I completely forgot to say it in our video, but this is a callback. They seem to be doing callbacks in pretty much every episode, and it's like little Easter eggs for the fans of the old classic. I'm calling it classic Quantum Leap. So in the pilot of classic Quantum Leap, Sam leaps into Captain Tom Stratton. Yeah. And he actually has a recurring bit in Shock Theater, which is the season ender of season 3. And if you haven't seen Shock Theater, go watch it. The baby, his wife's baby gets born at the beginning of that, at the ending of that episode. Sam saves both woman and child, and they name her Samantha, which Elle says. So this Samantha Stratton who's an astronaut in 1998 on the Atlantis with our guy, our Ben as a Japanese astronaut, is her, and that is so cool. Sorry, I just had to gush. Yep. That tells me the production, the writers, they care. They know what they're doing. They're saying, okay, we can't bring everybody back in massive big roles, but this is a hook into the old show, and if they can keep that up, I mean, you have about 98 episodes to draw from, so please keep it on. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So gush. That was my thing about episode 2. We're done with episode 2. Are you done with episode 2? I'm done with episode 2. Episode 3. Episode 3.
The fast version.
Is called Somebody Up There Likes Ben. It's 1977. And Ben is Danny Youngblood Hill, who's a prize fighter.
Oh yeah, I hate episodes like that, because they have to have them. That's in every bloody show. You have to have a boxing one, because boxing is so good and so interesting. And
it's like, we don't care. We just don't care about boxing.
Do you actually have a point, or can we skip this one?
No, we can't skip. Oh. One, he's a person of color.
Yeah, that's
he's
nice.
A black American. His older brother is what the story is about, which is really a good, solid Quantum Leap plotline. It's very often not the person he leaps into, but somebody else that he needs to help, which is great. There's a PTSD trauma. Absolutely good episode. The boxing part, meh. But the upshot of the boxing is that we learn that Ben is leaping into the physical person, and they keep reiterating in the episodes after that, is that it's the physical person that he leaps into. And with Sam Beckett, you never knew, because they made it up as they went along, quite frankly. And whatever episode it was, they decided, well, we want it to be him, or we don't want it to be him, or we want it to be very fuzzy.
And it does mean there is no leapy in the...
There's no leapy in the waiting room. There is no waiting room. People have been asking, where's the waiting room? We have no answer. It's not been mentioned ever.
I don't think there is one.
In the whole 7 episodes that we've seen, there's no mention of it. And Meta, they have said, we're not doing the waiting room.
And that means there can't be an escapee from the waiting room and all that.
But okay, that does pose a physics problem.
It does.
Because no two things can occupy the same state at the same time. So how do we do that? Where is Ben's body? If he's
maybe
not
we'll
his
find
own
out.
body?
I don't know. Well, episode 8. Who knows?
That'd be great. I'm game. I'm also.
I
good
don't
if it's
think so, but
if it's season 8, episode 8, I'm also in for that. You know, I like thinking in long terms. We also find out Ben's an only child because he's the younger brother of a brother pair, and he slots beautifully into all social situations. That seems to be his skill that he's very, very good at.
So we learned some new things about how leaping works in this whole thing.
Yeah.
What have we learned about this?
There is new code, which was already introduced, and now it turns out that the new code
in the Quantum Leap project, the code into the project.
Yeah, that Ben had he had activated the new code the moment the 2 moments before he leaped. We assume that means that he knows where he's going. And Ian found out...
He has some idea of where he's going. Yeah,
he has
heading.
A plan.
He actually is heading somewhere.
He's heading somewhere. He has a plan, and he probably took... Considering how intelligent he is, he probably took into account that he would lose his memory. So, basically, he pressed a go button. This is my headcanon. He pressed a go button, and he's going to let this all unfold, knowing what his own reactions would be without the knowledge that of what he did, and he knows his team. They've been working together for 5 years. Although I have some feelings that Ian hasn't been there for 5 years, because in this episode or later episode where Magic takes Ian to the side and talks to him about why he restarted the project and
why Magic restarted the project.
Yes, and what Magic's we're skipping ahead to the next episode, but Magic tells him very clearly he is there to save Sam, and then Ian turns around, which I found an absolutely moving scene, possibly the most moving scene of the entire show so far. So I was like, I was crying. Oh, they're gonna save Sam. And then Ian turns around and says to is Addison or somebody else? And says,
Jennifer, I think.
Jen, yeah. It says, this cannot happen to our Ben. We need to save Ben. And that's you put so much motivation into the characters, but also it shows how deeply involved these characters are with each other. They are a family, and a lot of people these days talk about found family versus family of origin, which is very important to a lot of people, and this show really hooks into that. And it seems that kind of by absence, you can tell that Ben was such a shaper of that group, that he picked them by hand. Magic picked Jen, we know that. Jen is also a little older. I did some research on the actors. Jen is played by Nanrisa Lee. I don't know if I pronounced the first name correctly, but she's 42. And that's I'm not that surprised. I mean, she looks timeless, so who knows? But I was like, yeah, she has the gravitas of being in that middle range there. For contrast, Ernie Hudson, who plays Magic, is 77 years old. So top banana that he's still doing that. And there's a scene later on where he says to Ian, "Please just give this to me in English." When he's doing technobabble.
Time travel technobabble, oh my god.
Yeah, and if you think, oh, he's 55, you're thinking, well, really, you should be up on this stuff. And it's like, well, he's 77, and he's actually just a Navy, well, not just a Navy SEAL, that's awesome. He's a Navy SEAL. He's not a techie dude. So yeah, please give it to him in English, which is great, because then give it to us in English. So I also did, again, skipping ahead, sorry, on Janis Calavicci, which is at this point, I have to go with the absolute youngest of the 4 daughters of Beth.
Yeah, otherwise it doesn't work.
Because the actress is born 86, and that makes her 36 years old. Even in the timeline where you say, okay, Beth was very young, that would have been a very, very, very late pregnancy.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It actually doesn't work.
Could she have been adopted? I guess so.
Nah.
But what's the point? I mean,
no, it's just
I have to point to that. It's why.
It's just a case. It's just a case of they can't calculate.
They probably did, or they said this is the actress we want for the job. Which we'll have to hear more because we haven't seen much of her yet. So Ben and Janis seem to be doing something together.
Something possibly nefarious, or maybe actually not nefarious, the opposite of nefarious, something good guy stuff, but we don't know.
We don't know.
Ben doesn't even know.
Would Ben actually, the Ben that we know in these 7 episodes, in about an hour, it's going to be 8 hopefully, would Ben actually be involved in something nefarious? Would he be that kind of person?
Well,
I think not.
That would be a question, would he be knowingly involved? Would he be unknowingly involved? Would Janis be knowingly involved? Would she be unknowingly involved?
Janis is a really, really shady character because she drugged her mom in order to get the handlink out of the basement. And here's the thing. There's nobody at the project who ever went... she didn't actually go to the project and say, hey, dudes, I got drugged by my daughter and she ran away with the handlink. She
does that all the time.
She clearly has a very short line to magic, so she could have done that.
Or she actually is in cahoots with Janis and let herself be drugged, so she has the possible deniability.
Okay, well Yes, I could absolutely see that, because these people are highly intelligent. They stated something that Janis is close to the level of Ben's intelligence, and Ben and Sam have all been categorized in like the 190 or 200 IQ points. By the way, speaking of IQ points, the one time that came up in the old show was when Sam has a daughter, and Sammy-Jo Fuller, where is she? Is she going to show up? Please, tell me. It's not in these episodes, but please, we need Sammy-Jo Fuller.
Yeah.
How old would she be at this point? She's from the 50s, so she would also be like into her 60s.
60s, yeah. On her way to 70s, yeah. So.
Actually, she's from the 60s. So
but she could have had children.
And that's the question I have. Would Addison be the daughter of...
Ooh. It's possible.
There's a lot of speculation on the internet.
Did they ever say her last name? I think they probably did, but I don't remember.
Yeah, but Augustine, that could be the dad's name.
Exactly, yeah.
Sammy-Jo Fuller just happens to have her mom name because... her mom didn't get married because get what? She got pregnant by
Addison. Augustine,
yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah. Well, I got some very interesting information on Caitlin Bassett, who plays Addison. She is 32 years old, which is lovely. Raymond Lee is 35 years old, which is a very beautiful, equal footing with hopefully the same kind of experience.
Many years of being in the show, so great.
Yeah,
we like.
Yeah, that means we can have them for 15 years. So
yes,
yay. Or more. Well, forever. These roles are forever. I mean, ask Comic Cons. These people will be doing Comic Cons for the next 45 years.
Yeah, but they won't be doing actively the show for that long, because it is a lot of work and a lot of heavy. I mean, they've done with the ensemble cast. They've spread out the effort, but it's still effort, and you can't do it forever.
Yeah. What I want to say about Caitlin Bassett is that she spent 7 years intelligence analyst in the army, and then proceeded to law school, and then decided to become an actress. So, wow.
Well, at least she knows her stuff now.
Given if you say, I mean, this is totally out of bounds,
it's
of course.
Almost
but if you say, you say that this would actually be Addison's background, you totally believe it, and you go, of course, she was supposed to be the leaper.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, perfect. And just as a comparison again, Mason Alexander Clark, who plays Ian, is 27 years old. So they're the baby of the show, and so such a lovely little mascot baby. Oh, what did you like about the?
Yeah, the cat's ears. I love the cat's ears.
Oh, it's all over the internet. Let me see. So the handlink got taken. So where does that go? Is the question.
Yeah, we do. We got the cliffhanger of
seventh episode.
Yeah,
the Halloween episode.
Yeah.
So there is a thing that apparently Janis is building an imaging chamber, and by the 7th episode, maybe she's finished building the imaging chamber. I would like to know where, because I don't think it's in the mom's basement. Although with your theory of maybe mom's involved, maybe Beth's involved in this, because maybe Beth and Janis have this whole thing of not only do they want Sam Beckett back, but they might want to change history in their own vision.
They have Al asked them to bring Sam back.
Oh, it's in his will.
Yeah, this last wish that Sam come home. He was looking for that all his life. So in the show, that they say that. So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I want to talk about the female episode, because what was interesting about it to me, actually in all the episodes so far, nearly all the episodes, he leaps into somebody who is not necessarily white. That's a given, so we can say that every single episode. Again, this is another one where it's a Latina.
They always,
this happens a lot.
They pick a lot of different demographics because I think for two reasons. One, the world is comprised of many different people, but they're still all in the States.
Not just white guys in this world.
Yeah, exactly. And the old show did a lot of white guys for practical reasons. And so now we want something else, and they do take that up. So we have the first one is a black, the second one that's a white, and then there's a girl, and there's a Latino,
a Latina, and a Latino, and then there's the gunslinger, and then we've got.
The whitest of the bunch is actually the priest at the end, and that we'll talk about that one last.
Yeah.
But the girl episode.
The thing about letting him leap into this diverse group of people or diverse individuals is that every single time they don't make a point out of it. Whereas the old show, the classic show, every time he leaped into a woman, it was the point of the episode.
Yeah.
And if he leaped into a person of color, it was the point of the episode. There was only one episode where it wasn't the point of the episode, and that was when he leaped into magic, where he's actually in Vietnam trying to save his brother. He saves the entire platoon, by the way, which magic confirms in the scene where he tells his history to Ian. And that's important.
Yeah.
But it always irked me, and I didn't realize. I mean, I watched it in the original, and 30 years goes by, and now we have the awareness more around the world that you shouldn't stigmatize or box an actor into just their demographic and say we can only tell your story if it's specifically that story. And can't it just be an Asian guy?
and that all the stories that the default of the story hero is always a white male, and always an American white male at that.
Yeah, that annoys, of course, us.
Yeah.
And they said at the beginning, before they even showed an episode, that they were going to be more international. So far we have seen a Japanese astronaut.
Yeah, we have only been in the States or in outer space. We have not been anywhere else.
Yeah.
I'm still hoping for more episodes because the Ben has Korean roots. He came to the States when he was like 9, so he has Korean roots. So I'm hoping Korea at some point. Yep. But I do. There's one little asterisk that I want to do with it. Yes, I want them to go places, but I do want to do it right, because if they go to some place and they have no clue what they're doing and they mess it up, we will also be sore. Yeah. So I do understand why they're sticking to the States.
They're in a bind.
They are in a bind, but they have to do it. But they do have a Korean on set who can give them advice, and they know how to hire Koreans to do it right. So I expect a Korean episode, and I expect that to be right, as far as we can tell, will be right. But I do know a little Korean, so the Korean in the show that I understood, like the very first line I understand, but then after it gets more complicated. It's real Korean, of course, because they're not going to do that wrong anyway. Mm-hmm. But I confirm, it's real Korean, and she says, "I love you, Ben." That's what she says. The first line. The second line I didn't get. The mother, yeah. Aww. In the flashback, because we learn more about Ben, that's about all we learn about him is that we already knew he was an only child, and that he came to the States when he was not a baby or not unborn yet. Or he was born in Korea, and but we know that we had a scene between the mother, and stuff happened, which I think I'm not gonna spoil that too much, because I think that's part of a continuing plot, and they will repeat it, I'm sure.
Yeah, they'll be later on. But one of the things he does as a young man, a youngster, not really
a teen,
a teen, a mid-teen, I assume, is that he decides to get just B's for that school report.
Yeah, because he was getting A's all a lot.
He couldn't deal with not being part of everybody else, because he was just genius. So it wasn't even about him being Korean; it was about him being a genius that set him apart from his peer group, and he wanted to be part of peer group. And I think that figures into how he is so good with team building. He does that in the Salvation episode where they're in the West, the Old West, and instead of doing shooty, which is what everybody, including Addison, wants him to do, he builds a team. And he said, we're building a better mousetrap, which I think was such a cool line. And when literally the guy gets into the mousetrap, you go, oh, that's what he meant in the mousetrap. I thought that was great.
It's a quote. It's a quote from an inventor's job is to not just make a mousetrap; it's to make a better one, and just make it better, and that's
and he did that. Yeah. So he shows everything that he can bring to a group of people is he can think outside the box. He can create a better box. He can. So he has lots more of. Okay, I love Sam Beckett, but I get more sense that Ben has more to offer.
Sam was being very much thrown around without any help. He was drowning more than Ben is.
Also, they set him up to drown, because in the pilot, Al tells him, "I can't tell you anything, please don't ask any questions." But if you don't give a scientist data, what can he do? So Sam is always just being slung from, and he has a big heart and is suited for it, but he had no fighting chance. I think this is a better setup for Quantum Leap storytelling.
Yeah, the Quantum Leap original it's a tragedy. He never leaves home. Is everybody was surprised, but I was not surprised at all, because that's where it was heading. And this Ben, that's one of the things I was thinking when I was watching it. This Ben actually has a chance to go home, and then if he does, then another person can leap. That's how the series could be set up. That this season or this 2 seasons, Ben leaps, and then Addison leaps. Yeah. And
I'd love to see Ben at the project.
Yeah.
I really would, and Addison as the leaper. I think that is so awesome, and I also think Jen could be a good leaper. She's got a lot of skills. And there could be just if this can start pinpointing exactly, because they're implying with this tech, this upgrade that Ben threw into Ziggy, the computer, which sometimes they call the machine, which I think is a poor idea. Stop doing that. Just call it Ziggy. It implies that he does know how to hit the target. Sam Beckett called it hit the target. When he got back that one episode where Sam and Elle got switched, he says to his wife, I now know how to hit the target. I have reprogrammed Ziggy. He can do it, but nobody else can. So when they try to retrieve him, it doesn't work anymore. But he can actually switch back with Elle. So it's been, and he says it's been going on in his subconscious. So his physics brain had still been working all this time. Now Ben clearly had a lot of time to get closer, and I hope with Ian. Maybe. Yeah,
I do think they need to up the game for, well, I've said that before and I'm saying it again, is up the game of the show, of where they're going and what they're going to do, because as much fun as these episodes are, and they do a lot with modern things, like having them leap into a black man and a woman, of course, and then having a trans character there as well. He doesn't leap into the trans character, and they don't actually do anything.
Yeah, it was the deputy in the Salvation town, and first reactions I saw on the internet was, oh well, I get a gay vibe off of him. It's probably a gay guy, and I thought I didn't actually get a gay vibe, but I don't know if that's legit or not. Who knows how good my gaydar is? But then I saw an interview with the actor, and confirmed that yes, this was a trans male, a trans man.
Yeah, and it's
in 1879.
And that's very modern to put the trans actor. Yeah, but there's no, in 1879, there is no trans the way we do it now. It's not
no, but
then.
He can live as a man.
But
yeah,
no,
we're confused.
We're so confused, and it also, why, if you're not going to make it a plot point, I understand Mason Alexander Park's remark in his interview about non-binary, that they were glad to be in a role that doesn't make it a feature. However, if you're going to put a trans person in 1870 something or other, 1879, 1879, it better be a plot point. Or what is the point? I mean, giving the actor a job, that's no problem. But why this? Why
wasn't it at least given to us as a fact in this, because we couldn't sit there and appreciate it. Wow, okay, the deputy is actually a trans man. That would have been really cool.
And the other
problem, an entire scene with Ben.
And the problem I also have with 1879, a black deputy is already a statement, and they also don't make anything out of that. So I've sort of went, okay, they're going with colorblind casting. Somehow,
no, the town was all about, it was a refuge for people who couldn't do that kind of stuff anywhere else. Like the owner of the saloon was a black woman. That was the whole thing.
Okay, the episode of a town that is with a lot. I mean, we would like it to be. It's like a fantasy that you're trying to put here in something that's supposed to be realistic. You're putting a fantasy of, we would love to have been there, a town with a black deputy who is also a trans person, and the black saloon owner, female saloon owner, because it's like 2-on-1, a female black owner of something, and all these things put together, and Mexicans who fight back.
The girl the granddaughter that he's trying to help.
And it's not realistic. I'm sorry, it's just not. And
okay, so if it's not realistic, then what they need to do is say, hey, we know Addison would have to come up with information. This town actually existed there, and then we have some flimsy information from old articles in the San Francisco Gazette, or I'm just making that up, that talks about a town like that. Give it to us. sometimes you have to do a little bit more than just put the people there. You have to literally illustrate and say, this is actually what we're doing. And if in this case it was a...
And if it's actually happened and everybody in America knows it, and you know what, I know, if this was actually real, if this town actually existed, and I don't know about it, and then I know quite a lot of history, and also American history, and I don't know about it, so I'm going to assume that normally people don't know about it. If that is the case, then you have to say, yes, this town actually existed. I don't believe that this town actually existed. So then it's a fantasy. Then make it a fantasy and give us a little bit more. Now you're sort of putting little nuggets of things that definitely are not believable in something that's supposed to be believable. And that annoyed me. I mean, I like watching the characters. I'm going to talk about the moment I see a lady in 1879 with a cleavage. I'm going to say, yeah, no. But that's another story. But I want to... this was a little bit of higgledy-piggledy. Oh, we were just making... It would be nice if that had happened. It's like making false history. It doesn't work. I was annoyed with that.
Mm.
You know?
Mm. Yeah, I would have been happy to go with it with some context given to me. It's like, okay, this is rare or something like that.
Yeah.
Or we vaguely heard about this.
And then
he's there. And then you go, oh, all right.
And then the very next episode is one about something that's very realistic, like a natural disaster, San Francisco quake, which I had heard of course. Yes. It's famous. It happens every 100 years or so in San Francisco, and that is all straight up realistic, as realistic you can make a piece of science fantasy, of course. But it meant to be realistic. So you have this completely unrealistic past, a view of the past, and then a realistic view of the not very past. And then after that you get an Exorcist remake.
Exorcist episode, O Ye of Little Faith, in 1934. What I found interesting of that is that they put it after in the Great Depression, but after the big crash of.
No, that's
29.
That's actually historically it's actually correct in that sense that in the 1930s people went really crazy for all kinds of phenomenon. Everybody was just crazy and strange because the world had gone crazy and strange.
Yeah, and the financial issues that this family is dealing with is stuff that would have happened then. It's absolutely realistic. Instead of being an heir to a big fortune, one of the people is selling encyclopedia door to door and making fun of it because he wasn't trained, he wasn't raised to do that. He was raised to be a playboy. I thought that was very... what I liked the moment when they said the encyclopedia is actually the internet of that day.
Yeah. The one thing that irked me about that episode is, and that's something that happens in script writing, is I think it was meant to be set in the 50s and they moved it back to the 30s because to make it interesting, because encyclopedia salesmen were the 50s. Some in the 30s, much in the 50s, door-to-door and anything salesmen 50s. The Black Doctor in the 30s, forget it, not happening.
They also didn't say anything about that. And
no, that's again the colorblind casting kind of deal.
Are we doing this or are we not doing this?
So if it's 50s, then yes, only just. 30s, forget it for a Black Doctor. The exorcism itself, well, it's a remake of the film, which is another thing that really irks me. And that's the thing that the old series and that old time used to do a lot, is take whatever is the big movie right now and then put it in an episode. Lots of shows did that. And the problem with it is that when they did it in the 80s, there was, videotape was coming out, but not everything was available. Now, you want to look at The Exorcist? Not a problem. You can just get it anywhere.
You stream it somewhere.
And the thing is, they sort of spoiler something that either you haven't seen yet, but was very easy to get, or you're trying to read something that everybody's already seen. So.
Well, I haven't seen The Exorcist, so
I haven't seen The Exorcist either.
I don't know how it holds up. My husband said it was interesting that they turned The Exorcist into a whodunit, effectively. So I take it The Exorcist was not a whodunit.
I've not seen The Exorcist, but it was on my list because it's got Richard Burton in it.
Not on my list.
But it's also horror. What The Exorcist could be on paper, like I said, I only know roughly what the story is like, is that it is a story of a one or more priests. I think it's actually two in the thing, and he's like the second priest in the story, having a personal crisis, a crisis of faith, which would make a very interesting story. I don't know if they actually did that in the movie, but they could have done that in this. They actually don't. They sort of sidestep that, which is a shame.
Then he couldn't have leaped into the priest. He would have had to leap into the doctor, for instance.
Basically, that is the interesting part of this story, or could have been the interesting part of The Exorcist, as not the horror part, because it's supposed to be horrific, that's the point. But the crisis of faith that this priest have, that is interesting. And they can't do it because he leaps into the priest. So if he had leapt into the doctor, it would have been more interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's then you leap him into the doctor, and then the doctor can deal with the
priest and family
having a existential crisis. One thing that was important about the Halloween episode, which I'd seen sort of built up over the course of these episodes, is that there's.
Episode, yeah. You're talking about this episode. This is the Halloween episode.
The Halloween episode is the Exorcist episode. O Year of Little Faith. Is that they are literally saying with what they're not doing is that it is not going to be supernatural. And in the old show, in classic Quantum Leap, it was always... we're playing around with ghosts, and of course they're not a ghost, but in the end, yes, it was a ghost. And then they did that with Bigfoot, and they did it. They did
the devil?
The proper one. That I don't mind. That was just a very, very good episode, standalone by itself. But definitely there was always the Ptahotep one. All the Halloween episodes basically had by the way, it is actually supernatural afterwards. Curses are real, magic is real. In this Quantum Leap, so far, no magic, no supernatural, curses are not real. This one got so close, this Halloween episode.
A phenomenon gets explained. We don't have to tell what happened. But
no, we don't have to say what happened.
But
I had a lot of guesses throughout the thing. And it's the fact that it stays in the realm of the reality rather than the fantasy says something about the
course,
series.
About the course they're taking.
And what do I think as a science fiction fan is this is a time travel show, and they're now taking Project Quantum Leap as a large part of the storytelling. And there's we forgot about the political, the congresswoman, Kavita Adani from Project's Oversight Committee comes by in episode 5.
Yeah, I'm wondering why there are surges of power and when they're not supposed to be doing anything. Yes. They're supposed to be standing still and idling, and there's suddenly surges of power.
Yes.
And you get a whole subplot of that, which is, I hope, going somewhere.
Yeah, that has to go somewhere. I felt it was dealt with not so terribly well, because Magic ends up implying that he wants to blackmail her into keeping silent, but then says, no, I'm not blackmailing you, but I'm promising you that we could help you with, a personal problem that has to do with the time travel thing, and get a blotch off her record. That I thought was extremely iffy. I did not expect Magic to do that, because he effectively lied to her. There's no way that they can do that,
and it's blackmail. It's straight up blackmail,
and it is still blackmail in a sense. So
it is blackmail.
So now they're on dodgy ground. Now everybody's on dodgy ground. Not sure where that's going, because that could
backfire in their faces.
Yes, that
all
woman
over
can decide to not be amenable to that after a while. So, and if there's a committee, that means she ain't the only one. There's more, but who? The old show also dealt with a committee once, and they never did it again, because I think if you go on for longer years, you can't keep something like this funded by the military. You can't keep it off the books, or you can't keep it on the down low. So
we'll have to see.
I don't know. We have many problems at this point. At the end of the 7th episode, Janis makes... Ben has lost contact with Addison.
Because of we first thought because of supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
But
when the connection comes back, it's not Addison. It's Janis. Sorry for the spoilers, but you made it this far. You don't care about spoilers.
It's the step up for the next episode.
That's what we need to know, what's going to happen
And
next.
that makes us ready to go and watch the next episode.
We're going to have to watch episode 8 now.
Okay,
so,
bye.
Bye.
So,
episode 8.
Episode 8. Spoiler, not a mid-season cliffhanger thingy.
It's
the mid-season finale thingy.
Yeah.
Which is okay. Well, once we got over that, it was pretty good.
Yeah. It's in the same what they've set up. It's like every episode they drop something important.
Yeah, but it was not like I was hoping for like a mid-season finale for actual Quantum Leap stuff, not a leap. But because I was hoping actually for maybe like a two-parter thingy, since this is the part before the hiatus.
They may not have made that because they weren't sure in the beginning whether they were going to get 10 episodes or 20 episodes, so to make episode 8 specifically a cliffhanger would have been difficult.
It would have been 9 and 10.
Could have still been a 2 or 3 part.
So we'll hopefully. So they're going out for a while now and coming back in
January 2023. So
we're gonna have to wait for the rest of it. So this episode.
Yes.
Do we want to talk about this episode?
The whole concept of that school, why they're sent there. There's a lot of implicit stuff that never actually clearly state to me, not American person, what the deal was. Were the kids sent there because they were convicted of something, or did the parents send them there?
It's a chunk of history, and maybe that's the mistake, is because it is a recent history, and recent being a relative term. 1996,
25 years ago.
That is 25 years ago for some people, but for the writers it may be, that happened yesterday, because they were fully grown up when it happened, so everybody knows this, and maybe not. I knew about it. It was not a comfortable subject, but I know about it, and you missed it because neither of us are American. So why would you know that? It's not. It's American social history, a bad part of American social history that's happening there, and it's nice that they showed it for the people who may have been a little bit less sure of what it was like. I did sort of go, oh god, if they actually go to the camp and have scenes at the camp, I may want to switch it off.
Yeah, me too.
Because I know it got bad. I know it got bad.
Just the concept of the box, and that you would put children in it. Even a 16-year-old, still a child. It's like and even adults. There was in the old series, there was an episode that was a chain gang episode. And the amount of times that Sam Beckett actually gets bashed, he gets put into isolation, like literally, just watching that, going, this is I don't know, torture. It's unbelievable what gets done to them. And of course, they're making these episodes to show, this stuff in the past that was no good, and we're now aware that it's no good. So that's great. Does it say something about the present? Usually science fiction says something about the present, so be aware, don't do this again. That's probably what it's saying, is like, okay, let's remember. For me it was news, but especially that they're 16 years old.
Yeah, that's...
I can't imagine that literally everybody in that camp is 16, so there's going to be 14-year-olds, 17-year-olds. Anyway, so we don't blame them for running.
No. And then the episode was really good. The drama was nice. Ben was interesting. The characters were interesting, and it was
actors were great.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those episodes where I'm going to say, okay, that's the little mini movie is here. So this is a standalone episode, and as such, it's really good. However, the subject matter is really uncomfortable, but if you're going to show bad history, this is bad history.
That is a thing that Quantum Leap started to do once they realized, classic Quantum Leap, once they realized that they had an opportunity to do social commentary.
Yeah,
and these days they're not going to wait 3-4 seasons to realize they can do social commentary. They're doing it now.
Yeah, well, they've already had 5 seasons of the old Quantum Leap. They did learn something there.
Yeah. The girl who's a lesbian. This is pretty much one of the first times that they actually made the fact that she is a lesbian made actually part of the story. And I didn't mind that at all. I thought that was appropriate.
The only thing is that it is just it's just a label. She doesn't do anything with it. There's no opportunity to do anything with it.
Just trying to get away.
But it would be nice if there's like somebody in a relationship, and that's not what they're showing here.
This is not the episode for that. That will happen.
However, the point of that was that when you had a kleptomaniac or a chappie who liked to steal little stuff, a guy who was taking pills badly, another gal who was seriously annoyed with her dad and tried to burn down the house. Where we don't know the particulars of that. We don't know who's at fault.
I wasn't quite sure they had been convicted or not.
And the girl who is a lesbian, and so these things are put on a even level as kids are bad because they are setting fires, doing pills, stealing small stuff, and being lesbians, or being gay, that was how it was, and that's why they're putting it like that, and that's why it's like that. But this is one of those history bits that should never ever happen again.
Yeah. Ben gets really emotionally involved to the point it's like we need to save these kids, not just save these kids. We need to get this out there. We need to.
Once he realizes that these kids really cannot go back to that camp because it's the only safe place because otherwise they're out in the wild. They cannot go back. Once he realizes that, then he has to get them out, and it has to become known because that is the only way for them not to be put back. Because if they go out and they get caught, they get put back if this camp is still there because they're officially runaways.
Yeah. Also, where this camp is, it's in the desert.
In a forest,
or forest, but it's so far away from the
civilization.
Yeah, civilization.
that
you can't walk out. You have to steal a car, and obviously, unfortunately, they toppled the car over. That one I was not expecting when they were driving away. It's like, whoa.
And this camp can legitimately say that they have no guards because they don't need any guards because these kids don't have any cars, and the wolves will take care of any problems.
Yeah. So to me, that sounds like a prison.
That's a prison.
That's a prison. This was on the edge of too scary for me because of the implications of where they were going to go, and what had happened already to the kids. The Halloween episode with the exorcism stuff, that was actually too scary for me.
No,
which I am not.
It's supposed to be scary.
Yeah, it's supposed to. Well, when I heard they were going to do exorcism, I thought, okay. I purposefully didn't watch The Exorcist, so. I hope they don't keep doing that. That's not really.
I hope so, but
not really my thing.
There has to be something at stake.
Yes.
And otherwise, you get what you get in some of the earlier episodes, and in this episode as well, where they flip a car and everybody survives. They go to San Francisco, falls down, and everybody that's important survives.
Yeah, there's like.
That also doesn't work.
Ben got knocked out by a beam falling on top of him, starts running after. When he gets freed up, he starts running after that. And I actually looked it up. It's like the amount of running that he does. it's 12 miles from San Francisco to Oakland.
On foot.
Yeah,
on foot.
And he's doing it through a tunnel. So that's not small. And they actually make a point in this episode that 5 miles in rough terrain in the heat is far too much.
Yeah, but because it's the heat.
So
the heat is the killer. The heat is the killer, not so much
supplies.
the terrain.
Yeah.
But they have to find a balance between making it realistic enough that it's believable and not so realistic that everybody just dies. Or
yeah, the thing is, in the original history, they all died. I do want to talk about the original history. Because in the episode, I think it was the disaster, the earthquake episode, Ian sees... No, in the Halloween episode, Ian sees the change in the history on the internet, on the scans.
There was a page up, and then Ben makes a change, and then the page disappeared.
Okay, so this opens up a whole... we can theorize here, because the old Quantum Leap, okay, so Al always was going like, okay, this is what happened, oh, now the chances of this happening, and now this has happened, you have changed history. So that tells us that Al actually knows the original history, and he can read what the new history is. We don't know that he has actually got memories of the new history. If something changes in his own life, I
always saw it that when he's reading Ziggy for the whole thing. Oh, it was like that. That was what I read just now, and then I read something new because he changed it.
So we never quite know in what timeline is Al. Is he in the new timeline? Is he in the old timeline?
Everybody's in the new timeline. Whatever is the new timeline.
Ian wasn't.
Until he was.
I guess until he was. But does he remember that? So if you change something in people's personal lives...
Magic remembers it too. Magic remembers stuff.
The original timeline. No, he doesn't, because he was killed, so he wouldn't have remembered that.
Yeah, but he remembered that he realized something happened. So now, because it's like does a log, a tree that falls in the woods and makes a sound, and it knocks down if nobody's there to hear it. Yeah. Because Ian is there to see it, he now remembers it. So it happened to him. Yeah. If he hadn't seen it, it wouldn't have happened to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something of that sort.
Something of that sort. Well, the biggest problem occurs when you have Al, whose complete life gets changed at the finale of the original series. That he has Beth. He doesn't have the 4 other marriages, and he now has 4 daughters. What does he remember? Does he remember his original timeline, and he just knows, okay, I have this, I have Beth, and I have the 4 daughters? Or does he actually remember his life with them all those years, and having the 4 daughters, and having the decades with Beth?
I think the latter, and I think that version, he is simply a different Al who did join Quantum Leap, possibly instigated by Sam in a leap somewhere to get him there. Because he is still, or maybe he didn't even go to Project Quantum Leap, because that's how it ends. He doesn't show up.
Well, that's always the fear of fanfic writers. Is what if you change Al's history?
He never went to
part of Quantum Leap. But we know now it's canon in the new show that Al remained on Quantum Leap.
Because Sam could have gone back and done something, or Ben can still go back and do that something.
Yes. So this is one of my personal wishes, is that Ben actually goes back and saves Sam.
No. What he can do is, or at least do, is go back and get the new Al with his wife and his 4 kids into Project Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
Because
and Sammy-Jo, thank you.
And sure, Sammy-Jo, and he can
Sammy-Jo is in the canon that she is working for Project Quantum Leap.
Okay, Sammy-Jo then, but okay.
We haven't seen her yet. She needs to show up. Showmakers, showrunners, they need to show up. Yeah. What do we make of the ending? Because there is a lot dropped there.
Yeah, but it's all roughly what we have seen before. It is maybe now that it looks like that Ben is more of the instigator instead of Janis, but we still don't know anything.
It's
basically
a tiny hint more, but it's
not negligible.
he is saying there is no other way. And that I believe from the beginning is when he said that the stakes were higher than...
Yeah, and the other nugget is that he says that he leapt, because he remembered why he leaped. He leaps to save Addison.
Now that makes sense, because Addison was originally supposed to be the leaper, and if he finds out that through stuff that is happening in the timelines, he finds out that Addison doesn't make it, so he needs to save Addison, and then the only thing in his genius solution, I'm going to do the genius part here, in his genius solution, including Janis' genius solution, is he has to leap first. So all these leaps that they're slingshotting to this thing that is likely a little bit in the future, which is what Ian theorizes, is going to be the point where Addison is going to be leaping, or maybe where she dies from the leaping, or whatever.
I suppose her life is on the line, so that you can safely assume that she's in mortal danger if stuff stays the same.
But I want to go back to the pilot, where he says in the video to Addison, this is bigger than us. So there's also something bigger than just...
Oh, yeah?
I suppose saving her life is also bigger than them as like a couple. It's more important than the couple part, but I still think there's a larger...
Yeah, but us, the us part means couple, but we'll find out, unfortunately, not anywhere before January next year. So that's cool.
No. So there you go. What did you make of it? And what do you want to have happen? These were our opinions.
And and mine also.
My opinion, your opinion.
Between us, our opinion.
Lots of opinions. Far too many opinions. And we're
sticking to them.